Yeah.
Here I'm back in the Good evening. Welcome to another, I think, interesting performance of the Activate Worcester crew. And we have a great guest tonight. As I always keep saying the same thing, but it's particularly true tonight.
Well, we haven't had a bad one yet.
Hopefully never, because they're what makes the show, not us, that's for sure. Our other co-host, Sandy, is at home, and what he's doing at this point is rehabbing a
Lee Mages.
That's right.
Getting rebuilt.
One piece at a time.
Yep.
One piece at a time. One thing we're going to do tonight a little bit differently. From time to time, we're going to begin the show with a little editorial comment if we think it's appropriate and necessary. This program, I think you're aware of this, these programs are taped. And this particular one will be shown probably in another week or so. And it's being taped the evening of the great debate for the presidency. And that's my little topic for tonight, and there's a reason why. Not so much to allude to that, but for those who saw the debate on Monday, the senatorial debate, I had a couple comments that I wanted to share with the audience. To me, a debate is supposed to be a great opportunity to learn something about both parties, asking them equal questions, giving them equal time so that they can provide their input, and that you, the viewer, can make a pretty decent conclusion as to which one you feel most comfortable with. Well, this particular debate really fell short in a number of those areas. The incumbent senator was fighting four different things, and I'm not pushing one versus the other. His first adversary, of course, was our good friend from Cambridge and from Harvard, and that's to be expected. They'll throw bombs at each other, and that's what makes the viewing fun. But at that point, it came off the track pretty quickly. First of all, you had an individual, David Gregory, who had more face time than either of the other candidates. And I include him as a candidate because he almost perceived of himself as being a candidate. Secondly, he would ask different questions of the participants, which is really not a fair way to do it. And there was one particular sequence in which he would ask a question of Senator Brown and then follow it up with not one, not two, but three follow-up questions, because he wasn't really happy with what he was hearing. In other words, he was making value judgments and throwing total softballs to the other individual, which is not what people want to see or hear. There was also kind of a stacking of the audience, but that can happen. But the fourth part that to me was absolutely unacceptable, and I'd like the viewing audience to watch this, and that's not anything that we do here in Channel 13. People are given an opportunity to speak and to say what's on their mind. Well, one of the things that was happening, and you'll see this in various debates, they will zero in on the Democratic candidate, allow them to respond to a question, as well they should. Then when they turn it over to the Republican candidate, two things happen. First thing is that they'll keep the camera fixed on them for about the first 5 to 10 seconds of their response. Then they go into a split screen mode, at which time, first of all, the Democratic candidate, if you will, or contestant, is given free face time. But the second part of it is they are also trained very nicely in mugging for the camera. So while the other individual is speaking, the Democratic candidate will be rolling their eyes, looking at the camera and shaking their heads and just shocked at how foolish the other person is. So in other words, they're allowed editorial comment. To my way of thinking, that's unacceptable on either side. And I'm for fair elections and clean elections, and I'm for fair debates and clean debates. And I hope that people who see this will bring this kind of thought process to the attention of people who are in fact running these things, the communication directors. Let it be fair, Let's win fairly or lose fairly. End conversation. That's my little 2 cents for the night. Anyway, my more than able co-host tonight is Chris Pinto. And Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm just wondering, maybe Chris Sinicola and David Hitch better be careful over there, because they might have some competition.
Just calling them as they see them.
Coming off of West Boylston Street.
You're looking rather resplendent tonight. What's up with
Yeah, well, you know, we have a friend that had a friend watch the show who's in the film business, and, you know, she said, you need to wear a suit and tie. Well, I don't have any ties yet, but I'm going to get one, and we'll have her on.
Maybe the viewers
will
send a couple ties.
There you go.
I'm afraid to see what that'll engender.
As long as they don't have donkeys on them, I'll wear them.
I like it. I like it.
And, you know, so I figured we'll start looking respectable. It's better than filming your show out next to Coe's Pond after you've finished blazing, you know.
Indeed. Yeah. In fact, to the viewers, I have to apologize to some degree for the way I'm dressed tonight. But my oldest grandson played his first JV football game today, and Grandpa was down there rooting him on, and they won, shut him out, 8-0. Go Toph.
Okay, so, you know, we get people on that are active in issues.
Is this man ever active?
And yeah, you know, when we talk about this man here that we've got tonight, John O'Mara, you know, I thought when we were going to have John on, we could have so many other people on, because he complements what so many people know. And he's brought so many people together down in Northborough. He's had, you know, international authors show up and give talks in Northborough, you know, economists, retired economics professors from Holy Cross, Dr. Nick Sanchez. Mm-hmm. He has introduced us to so many great minds in this area, and we're all appreciative of that. And he's one heck of a nice guy, too. I haven't met anyone that doesn't like John O'Mara. So a little background on John. John has worked over the years at American Air Filter Company, Cummings Engine Company, Fenwal Incorporated, which is in Ashland. And he's an entrepreneur, so he founded the Computer Security Institute, and he founded America's Inc. He's been married for 46 years, and he has 3 sons, so he hasn't had the joy that I have in giving a teenage daughter driving lessons. So, welcome to the show, John.
Thank you, Chris.
And there's so many things you can talk about here, but you've chosen one topic tonight.
Yes, and that's the Oust Obama Coalition. This is an organization that was started here in Massachusetts, and it goes back to the early days of January of this year. A group of us got together at that point, and we were very concerned about the direction of our country, and especially what our president was doing to our country. And a small group, and we wanted to know amongst ourselves, is there anything we can do to make a difference and be assured that our president is not reelected. When you look at the damage that he has done at that time in 3 short years, now of course it's been compounded over the last year, it is very, very disturbing. And when you think that he has been doing all this with the onus of an election yet to come. So if this man is elected for a second term, all bets are off. So anyway, we recognize that the folks that got together early on, so there's got to be something we can do that will make a difference. So we hashed it over, and we decided that here in Massachusetts, as far as the presidential election was concerned, there's not much that we can do. However, if we concentrate on the swing states, we could have an impact. So we put together a plan. And we picked a website address, which took a little bit of doing. But in any case, this plan came to fruition, and then we started building the organization. And we did it in a way that I think has been very effective and efficient and productive. That is, we were looking for volunteers. This is all volunteer effort, by the way. Nonpartisan, nonprofit. And we do not accept donations, nor do we solicit donations, which is a little bit different than most organizations.
That simplifies things quite a bit.
It does indeed. It does indeed. And when you have a group, as we do, of the varying talents, I mean, it's, you know, you don't have to look very far in our area, within our group, to find very, very talented people. And that was one of the philosophies that we had when we were putting this group together. You know, everybody has a skill set. Everybody feels comfortable doing certain things. But we did not want to put people into areas that they felt uncomfortable with. Anyway, first of all, you don't have the time. I mean, we're in a short-term mode here. If we make a mistake with key positions, that would be not a good thing. So anyway, this whole thing came together. We looked out into the political landscape, and we said, okay, what are we going to do here? So when we put this group together, which was a combination of action teams, we're doing on-the-ground action team. We've got a religious freedom outreach team, college outreach. So we put all these groups together, and a website team. So now we're in motion. But I want to stress, we're still looking for people to step up and participate. This is not just a Massachusetts enterprise. I mean, we are talking to people all over the country via our website. But the history has been very positive. We've all gotten to know people we never would have gotten to know, and it's been a very exciting experience for me, because I never realized how effective a relatively small group of people can be, especially when you don't have a boss. You know, I mean, one of the magical things about these kinds of organizations, nobody's in a position to say, okay, you've had your time in court, we've heard your argument, now do it. Well, that's not the way it works when you're working with volunteers. So, in any case, we're moving in a lot of different directions. If we do encourage people to visit the website, which is www.oustobamacoalition.com. And again, if you visit that website, and by the way, it's very sparse when it comes to the verbiage, etc. So if people do want to visit our website and decide that there are things that they can do to lend and assist, we certainly welcome them. And when I think about things that they can do, keep in mind what's happened over the last 4 years. We actually put together a flyer, which is posted on the website. And if I may just show this, this is a two-sided flyer, but it sort of reminds us of what has occurred over the last 4 years. And just for the audience's benefit, just as a reminder, allow me to just tick off a couple of these, because this will stimulate some people, I think, to step up. By the way, there are over 30 tidbits here, but the ones that I would like to post very quickly. We have spent $1 billion to subsidize 12 now bankrupt green energy companies. We've killed the Keystone. Yes, Chris.
I think it's going to go to 13 now. There's
well,
a proposal of another one.
All right. Well, that does not surprise us.
And as they hit, the hits just keep on coming.
Yeah. 12 losses, and this president just can't get off that green economy.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, we're just skimming here. So he killed the Keystone Project. Now we're talking about tens of thousands of jobs, and increased our dependency.
Union and non-union.
And especially union. I mean, it surprises me that our unions are not a bit more vocal on this score.
And John, for those who aren't up to speed on that, the Keystone Project is?
Well, it's the pipeline. In other words, we're trying to bring oil down from Canada through the United States and to distribute it in a more efficient way, but to bring our northern hemisphere oil to our country. But instead, we're encouraging Brazil and other, we're spending billions of dollars to help other countries develop their oil supplies. There is not a very keen logic here, at least that I can discern. Of course, the price of gasoline has doubled. We are now, black unemployment over the age of 30 is 30%. And when you get above 30, it's 40%. We've got 5.7 million homeowners at or near foreclosure. I'm getting to some of the good ones right now because, we're destroying the best healthcare system the world has ever known against the will of the majority of the people. It is being jammed down our throat. We have had 16 in terms of growing the government, expanding the government at an ever-increasing rate, 16,500 new IRS agents to oversee just Obamacare. So with the job growth, I'm not sure how much of this is private sector when you look at 16,500 new IRS people. The assault on religious freedom. I mean, this is beyond comprehension, where a president of the United States would force this upon the religious people in our country. And it's not just the Catholics. It goes across all religious boundaries. Chris, I don't know if you were going to add to that.
I'm not so sure that those of the Islamic faith are being attacked.
Well, they're not religious. That's not considered a religion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, I think that's a fair statement.
Okay.
Quickly, of course, the use of executive orders to bypass the will of the people and the Congress is egregious. There's no excuse. And can you imagine what's going to happen down the road if he is reelected, and especially if the Republicans win the Congress and the Senate? Those executive orders are going to be spun out of there at breakneck speed. Sad, 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 as we just saw the last day or so, Arizona. Their borders are being penetrated. There's no protection. The federal government is fighting the state of Arizona, and all they want to do is protect themselves. That's beyond comprehension also. There's an overall disrespect for the military, and the one that really gets to me is this, that many people don't realize. Our president has been sending out auto-pen sign form letters of condolence to the families of fallen soldiers.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And of course, what does our president believe? He believes capitalism doesn't work. He believes that America is not exceptional. And of course, redistribution as opposed to creation. He's against success. I mean, never hear of this person talking about achievement and doing the hard things to become a success. It's all about pay your fair share, get in line and do the right thing, fair, fair, fair. And of course, the one most recently is, hey, you guys, you didn't build that business. But that's just a skim of it. And these, these can be downloaded, they can be reproduced. And for people who are not really aware of what's going on, pass it along to friends and family and bring them up to speed. Now, one of the things that I failed to mention before as far as the Oust Obama Coalition, one of the reasons we were able to move ahead is we built credibility in a variety of ways. One of them was the Advisory Council, which we put into place. And one of our Advisory Council members is a fellow by the name of Trevor Loudon. He's a New Zealander. He loves this country. He realizes that if it was not for the United States of America, Australia and New Zealand would be toast, as he puts it. But he also recognizes that we are the anchor of the world. If the United States of America goes down the tube, the world goes with it. Now, he spent 2 years. He comes over here essentially and spends 6 months home, and then he comes over here and does a labor of love going around the country and preaching, but telling Americans about the things that Obama is doing and has done. He wrote a very well-received book called The Barack Obama and the Enemies Within. And in fact, Trevor is Glenn Beck's go-to person. He's been interviewed by Glenn Beck. When it comes to information on Obama, his associates, the organizations that he's worked with, Trevor's got it. I mean, that book is that thick, and it's documented, solid research. And it was Trevor who exposed Van Jones. He passed that information along to Glenn Beck, and then, of course, the Van Jones story became. And Trevor graciously accepted a position on our advisory council. He has spoken to our group, as he has many other groups around the country. So I didn't want to get by our organization without mentioning Trevor, because he's a true patriot, and I hope that his efforts are they are being well received, but I hope that they pay off, because it's in our best interest.
I agree, and I thank John for having brought Trevor to our attention. And I attended several of his talks. I've got some of his material, really remarkable stuff. But I had an opportunity to actually speak with him for a couple of minutes, and about the overall state of affairs. And one of the things that he brought to my attention, he talked about different groups in this country that are trying to bring this country to where it was prior to Obama, and specifically the Tea Party. And he feels that the Tea Parties are very, very well-intentioned. However, they're slightly missing the point. His premise is that Tea Parties are basically two issues: fiscal sanity, not fiscal conservatism, because that brings up all sorts of other, conjures up images, but it's fiscal sanity, and it's also controlling the size of the government. And most people would say, yeah, that's what they're all about. His premise is that, yeah, that's fine and dandy, and those are very, very positive goals to be striving for. But beyond that, his feeling is the thing that people of that mind should be into is the frightening weakness of the United States military.
Exactly.
And what Obama is trying to present. His premise to me, which was fascinating, is that if he was running Romney's camp and running the advertising, every ad would tie in Obama's conversation with the mics being open with the Russian President Medvedev, where he basically alluded to the fact that, after the election, we'll be able to really work this out. We'll be really flexible. Based on what I've seen, Russia, because it's no longer the Soviet Union, they've been totally inflexible with everything. The Polish issue, with the missiles, and on and on and on and on. The ones that have the defensive team on the field, and have been very much so over the last 4 years, is us. And what they would like us to do is to continue to cut down our nuclear arsenal to the point that it's a non-issue. We already have the weakest Navy that we've had in 75 or 80 years in terms of preparedness. Our military preparedness in terms of our own people is weakening every day. And Trevor's point was, as the President of the United States, that's your primary goal, to protect us. And he's falling down on that job big time. And those folks that are out there just can't wait to vote for this man. Understand what he's all about. And if you're good with that, with an extremely weak military, coupled with an extremely weak position around the world and a lousy economy, then vote for the guy. And, one thing that I hear lots of politicians on both sides talking about is, oh, we're all for jobs, we're all for jobs. Well, how are these jobs going to suddenly materialize? Based on what? And that's where things come a cropper at that point. And to take a look at his performance, at least as it relates literally to the economy, why would you think anything is going to change? One thing I've learned in my X number of decades on this planet is that the best indicator of human performance in the future is simply looking retrospectively at what people have done in the past. That's typically what they'll do again in the future. Look at his performance against the military issue. Look at what he's done buddying up with everybody in the Middle East. Oh, isn't it a beautiful thing, this Arab Spring? Yeah, it's going to spring on Israel, and we all know that. Thank you, Mr. Obama.
Yep. And Ron, when you started talking about Trevor, I had a takeaway from seeing him speak like you did. And thank you, John, for introducing us to Trevor. Well, that was quite the snag, getting him in.
Yeah, and I have to really underscore what Ron just said about Trevor and what his view of the world is. If the U.S. military is downgraded to a certain point, our enemies will feel no compunction to withhold just, Trevor talks about a strategy that he heard from a KGB person that the Chinese have got billions of people over there, and of course the males outnumber the females by quite a factor, and the notion of once
which means they have little to do.
And are expendable.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, I hate to talk this way, but this is the reality of the situation. And I believe that there is a solid logic here. Sending waves and waves of troops over the Pacific, and for sure, millions probably will be killed. That is a strategy that seems to resonate with people who've looked at this over time. And once that, I mean, we have plenty of enemies. We're not short on enemies. Once they see us wobbling, and it looks like we're going under, the people who want to hop on the wagon will do so very quickly.
Yep. So the point that Trevor made that I took as a takeaway was, excuse me, he talked about America's history, and we've had economic ups and economic downs. Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm not exactly on point from what Trevor said. We've always had our military, a steady military, and if you can take the military down, then the American people won't survive a huge economic downfall. Our enemies will come in and just take us over. We'll be too weak financially. We'll be too down morally because of a serious depression, and it'll be all over.
And the bottom line is what you never do in any situation, you never negotiate from weakness. And if our economy is weak and our military has seen better days, and you get pushed around here, there, and everywhere else, what's going to happen? It's
and of course, with gun control, of course, that's the first thing that goes in a tyrannical situation. Take your weapons. Religious freedom. We're seeing all of this coming out. It's rolling out as we speak.
It's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Well, that's why Oust Obama Coalition is doing so well. We're getting people who are not happy about that outcome.
Well, we have, unfortunately, we tend to run out of time, especially when I start running off at the mouth, and I apologize to both of you, but...
No, you made some great points, Ron.
I get my adrenaline rolling, and sometimes it's hard to contain it. Title of our show is Activate Worcester, and part of our reason for being, if you will, is to challenge the viewer with some of the things that they've just heard from the particular guest. What can they be doing?
They can visit our Oust Obama Coalition website for sure.
Which is
www.oustobamacoalition.com, and give us a jingle if you're looking like you want to lend an assist.
Thank you for coming on, John.
All right.
John,
my pleasure.
And thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Fastest